All right, I'm back. I know. Yeah. So one of the things I've been doing, which is kind of like like a little kind of unhinged, is that I'm going on Facebook Live and I'm kind of like using it like a journal where I just kind of talk about what's on my mind and I kind of work through it and I process it. Um, so it's like really if you were to like potentially stumble upon it, it has like zero structure and but it's also I'm finding it to be really like beneficial as far as like honestly like part of what I'm trying to really get to right now is to be able to show up on on camera, um like really with more presence, more comfort, and it's a comfort thing. It's a comfort thing. It's like, when I first started doing this, and I think I was looking back on one of these videos recently. Oh, I think it was when I was numbering them by pages, and I kind of caught some of the first ones. And like what I kind of read as woodenness in watching it is actually more of a product of this thing where it's like the stuff that's like kind of going through my mind, like very fluid in the transmission into verbal is like all it's like um it kind of gets like stuck on its way out and it has a hard time like connecting. So, what do you like? There's that. So maybe it's like a warm up. Maybe that's like warming me up. I don't know. But so I wanted to get back on and do a little bit of reading because we are in the second hubs. And this is just such an important chapter. And I don't know if you're following along, if you're having the same experience I am, it really does reactivate because once again, what we are looking at is we're looking at these reflexes that are programmed long before we have episodic memory, spoken language. Um, and we're like involved in coding this stuff. So we have a reflex, we kind of create meaning around like what that reflex is when it shows up. And then, sort of like we project what we expect, the world responds accordingly, and we're kind of stuck in this infinite loop. So what we're doing is we're like teasing this out. And one of the things about the second hub is it's really where like life, it's like kind of like where life, the feeling of being alive, of joy, of emotion, of feeling, of desire really arises. And so the more that we kind of like spend time in this, investigating it, becoming aware of it, seeing it in ourselves, because part of it is just the self-awareness of seeing this in our lives and being able to just give ourselves a break when we see the stuff arising, see the reflexes arising, and just have just enough space between the reflexes arising that we can actually like see it versus just get completely absorbed in this pattern of a belief around it, and then the projection, then the return of it, and then like the reflex, and go on forever. So, okay, maybe I'm not as goofy as I thought I was. It felt very goofy when I started this. I don't have a ton to read here, but it's getting, listen, the walls are kind of closing in right now as far as being able to like get to the goal of being at 125, but I think we can do it. As I'm looking here, because if we get to 125, we'll be in the third hub. So buckle up. And this means that I'll be reading over the holiday weekend, which is also TBD. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so I'm going to start reading, and here we go. So second hub in the adaptations, we just finished the shrinking behaviors. Before that, we have had the inflating. Like I've said before, I'm really looking forward to being able to have this as a discussion and have it be interactive, because I think a lot of this is the way that people are interacting with this and experiencing is very personalized, and a lot of questions come up. And I don't present myself as the final answer on them, but I do know it does help to contextualize and kind of toss this back and forth a little bit and kind of work through it. So anyhow, here we go. If you're ready, combination. So It's not unusual to identify with behavior from both adaptations or to believe one is morally superior to the other. The common denominator in both adaptations is twofold. They don't have strong emotional literacy or emotional availability in relationships, and they struggle with attunement to others. The purpose of this section is to bring awareness to our patterns so that we can manage them and accept ourselves and others as we are, along with having optimism for the possibility of greater capacity and development in the hub. Balance. When we're balanced and dynamic in this hub, we can have a differentiated identity from family and social relationships, enough to build a life for ourselves separate from the expectations of others. When this hub is developed, we have both impulse control and expression of emotion, along with the emotional intelligence that supports empathy and compassion. Empathy is knowing how something feels while remaining present in your own experience. Unlike weak emotional boundaries that mistake empathy as becoming immersed in the same emotional state as another person. When there's strength in this hub and we have a problem with another person, we can deal with it directly to smooth out differences. We can be objective and know ourselves well enough to admit weaknesses. Balance in this hub also means we don't second guess ourselves when we've had enough. Yeah. So just fair warning, the next section. So the next is a shrinking strategy, intuition, and intellectual intuition that's tongue twister. Into hey, intuition and intellectualization, tolerance for touch. Then we have pacifiers. Then we have the shadow, guilt, chronic pain, and suppressed emotions. Then we go into techniques and exercises. Wow. Okay. We're moving along. And the techniques, so I think the thing about this hub in particular, so these topics, the next ones that are coming up, I think are pretty strong and evocative, I guess. They can be activating. But in this hub in particular, with the techniques and exercises that we're getting to, that there's just tremendous gain. There's tremendous quality of life improvement that does come along with, like, the thing about feeling is it's feeling, and so there's feeling kind of some of this stuff that's like doesn't feel good, but it's alive. I had a friend, it's funny, I had a friend in my 20s, and I remember we were having this conversation, and I was just saying, I really hate heartbreak. And I was really kind of morose about it. And I remember he looked at me, he goes, "No." And it really surprised me. He goes, "No, the thing about heartbreak is it's so alive. You're feeling it and you're thinking, God, I'm so alive." And that's always stayed with me. Even though I don't practice, historically I've not practiced that type of embracing of strong, difficult emotions, but it's certainly aspirational. And I really I just always go back to that. It never occurred to me that was an option. I remember at the time, I think that was the whole thing. So anyhow, thank you for watching. I'm going to wrap up for right now, and I can't wait to see you until I see you next time. Yeah, I really appreciate you. See you soon. Bye.